What's up, everybody? Welcome to my new side channel, The Road to 99.99, where I will be playing the bonus levels in 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, of which there are 9,999. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to be doing 9,999 videos. That would be ridiculous and would spam everything. I am, however, going to be posting videos of every 5th wave, which is a boss fight. I'll be doing the whole thing. Laying out what my characters are, what my choice of strategy is, and then I'll finish the wave and end the video. And then the next video will be wave 85. I am starting at wave 80 because I did play this quite a bit before deciding to finally pull the trigger on this idea. So you won't get the first 18? What? 15. You won't get the first 15 boss fights on this channel. But from here on in, I'm going to record every 5th level I do, every boss fight I do, and upload it. Now, I'm going to go over a decent amount in this first video. I'm going to lay out what each character's build is, lay out what they can do. I won't go into that on subsequent videos unless I make a change, which I probably won't for a while because I've got a pretty good setup that I'm comfortable with these guys. But yeah, for this first video is going to have a bit of a lead-in. And we've got our 13 Sentinels here. The way the game works is you pick 6 Sentinels to have as your offensive team. The rest are on defense and have a specific move they use well in a defensive position. The yellow bars above their numbers and selections are their brain overload. You can only use a pilot a certain number of times before they have to take a match off, which they will not take part in either offensively or defensively, which encourages you to switch up who you're using and when. They are divided into 4 generations. Generation 1 is largely melee, with only a few anti-air abilities, but they are beasts on the ground. Generation 2 sets up turrets, and has some ground abilities and air abilities. Mostly I get the turrets out of them and the multi-rocket launchers, which hit a big AoE. Gen 3 are snipers. They have railguns and long-range missiles, and they hit hard from a distance, aren't very mobile. Gen 4 are aerial units. They can attack things in the air very easily. They have lots of missiles that get fired off all at once. They can set up interceptors, which are autonomous units that fly around the battlefield hitting stuff. It's pretty satisfying to use. Also, some of them have an attack called Leg Spike, which hits really, really damn hard, which is also very satisfying to use on tough enemies. So, the build for each of them. In Gen 1, we have Nenji Ogata, Takatoshi Hijiyama, and A Sekigahara. The build for Nenji is Rush Attack, which is a bunch of punches. Fully upgraded, it's 7 punches that do decent amount of damage. Wide-range suppression rockets, which fires in a cone a bunch of missiles that have their own AoEs. Hit stuff on the ground. Not the most useful thing, but it's fairly decent. Demolisher Blade, which is a house. It hits things through armor a lot of times for a lot of damage. And it is by far my most used ability on the Gen 1 Sentinels. EMP Attractor. You can fire off EMPs to shut down enemies and make them focus on your unit. Gets rid of effects like anti-air flares and shields on stuff, and generally disables anything it touches for a little while. EMP Attractor is worse than EMP Surrounding. It's in a cone that goes a little further, but it fires off from the position you're at and doesn't let you move to set it up, and the sphere effect of EMP Surrounding is, in my opinion, better. Unfortunately, Nenji doesn't get that, so he's stuck with EMP Attractor. High Performance Charger. This is sort of a turn-based game. Everybody's got an ATB bar like in Final Fantasy. When that fills, they get to use a move. And you can save that move for later if you need to do something else first. Every move has a different amount of wait time that happens when you use it. For example, something that that will take 6 seconds to recharge the unit's turn versus something that takes 8 seconds to recharge the unit's turn, or 3 seconds. High Performance Charger decreases the amount of time it takes to defend and restore energy points, which are basically the MP of the unit, and increases the amount recovered. Anti-air defensive flares rounds out Nenji's kit. Puts flares in the air. They do dots to anything that flies through them. Not the most useful thing. I generally get offensive skills that work better on those, but it's good to set up in an emergency. Nenji's Sentinel has these upgrades. Armor. These upgrades affect your stats. Once you've maxed out every ability on these characters, you can upgrade their Sentinel, their mech that they're in. You can do things that upgrade their HP, their energy points, their attack, defense, speed, accuracy. Armor adds a chance to nullify attacks. Generator increases the EP recovery from destroying stuff. Fire control increases critical damage. Actuator increases move speed and distance for abilities and general movement. And Neuralink decreases brain overload and increases the EXP the character gets. These are basically EXP sinks. You use the currency you get from battle to upgrade these on whoever you want to. I've been keeping them largely even with each other. For example, I'll upgrade everybody's generator from 30 to 35 at once, and then move on to the next stat I want to upgrade. Attack and defense are pretty self-explanatory. Speed is something that reduces the wait time when you use a move. And accuracy is crit chance, I believe. That's Nenji. Takatoshi has rush attack, which I've already explained. Optimized actuator. Movement before attacking with armament is multiplied by 1.3. Basically, it means that when it's his turn, he can move as part of his ability further than he would be able to normally. EMP surrounding, I've already explained. It's a sphere version of EMP attractor, which is much better, and it actually deals a decent amount of damage. It'll blow up little guys all by itself. Demolisher Blade, I've already explained. Composite ceramic armor makes the unit immune to attacks that deal 500 damage or less due to special composite armor. It basically means he takes 0 damage from weak hits. I think I'll probably be swapping that out as I go. Because stuff is going to start hitting harder and harder, and I don't know if his defense stat will keep up with that. And he has anti-air defensive flares as well. Here's his Sentinel upgrade list. It's basically the same as Nenji's. Like I say, I keep them all pretty even. A Sekigahara rounds out the Gen 1s. Rush attack, Demolisher Blade. Hurricane Rush is basically rush attack that hits random targets in a circle around him on the ground. EMP surrounding, forced cooling device, weight recovery speed increases by 30%, makes him act faster, and anti-air defensive flares. And there's his Sentinel upgrade system. Juro Kurabe, first of the Gen 2s, starts with Heavy Knuckles, which is like rush attack, but it only hits twice, but it hits harder with each hit. Arm-mounted piercing cannons are an armor-piercing ability that hits a cone in front of him and pierces enemies and hits stuff behind him. It's fairly useful, if a bit short range. Multi-rocket launchers fires at a medium distance and hits stuff in an AoE for a decent amount of damage. Sentry gun. You can set up a certain number of sentry guns on the map. You set them up one at a time with each turn that the character gets. And they'll fire autonomously for a certain amount of time, and then they'll dissipate. I don't think I've had any of my sentry guns dissipate in a while. I generally finish levels before that happens, but it can happen. Sentry guns are really useful. You'll see me using the Gen 2s to set up sentry guns until I hit the sentry gun limit, and then I'll have them start doing other stuff. Plasma Arc Fusion Cutter is like Demolisher Blade, but it's a bit more effective, and it slows enemy movement. Guardian Avenger places a decoy, which, when destroyed, explodes, dealing damage. And there's Jiro's Sentinel upgrade. Iori Fuyusaka, the second Gen 2, has Heavy Knuckles, multi-rocket distance launchers, which is an upgraded version of multi-rocket launchers, sentry gun, repair emitter, which heals friendly units in an AoE, plasma arc fusion cutter, and plasmic wrecker, which is basically an ultimate version of Demolisher Blade. There's her Sentinel upgrade. Ryoko Shinonome to finish out the Gen 2s, Heavy Knuckles, multi-rocket launchers. Anti-ground salvo is an armor-piercing thing that surrounds the Sentinel, just does a bunch of explosions. Arm-mounted machine cannons, which is just a gun that you can use for free. Sentry gun and plasma arc fusion cutter. And her Sentinel upgrade. Natsuno Minami, the first of the Gen 3s. Multi-launching rapid cannons is the free ability that you can use without spending EP. It's weak, it does some damage, and doesn't pierce anything. Precision machine cannons is an armor-piercing version of that. Main battery heavy railgun is the meaty ability that fires a straight line for a long distance that hits really, really hard anything that's caught in the line. It's great for clearing crowds that are in a line. It deals a bunch of damage to bosses. It's going to be her main ability. Forced cooling device increases weight recovery speed by 30%. Missile rain is insane. It's basically the Gen 3 ultimate. It fires a cone of 174 missiles that are at random points in the cone. The cone covers like a third of the battlefield. It's nuts. I'll try to use it soon so you guys can see it. And long-range missiles are like multi-rocket launchers, but they hit further out. There's your Sentinel upgrade stats. Keitaro Miura, number 2 of the Gen 3s. He has multi-launching rapid cannons, long-range missiles. He's got the basic heavy railgun. Anti-air bombardment, which is not something I use very often, but it hits air enemies. Generally, it's better for him to be using the railgun. He's got missile rain as well. And he's got main battery mega railgun, which is an upgraded version of the heavy railgun. I have both railguns on him in case he runs low on EP and I need to manage that. But you'll generally see me using the mega railgun, because it's really good. There's a Sentinel upgrade. Tomi Kisaragi has multi-launching rapid cannons, super long-range missiles, EMP stunner, which does an EMP AoE around the Sentinel, much like EMP surrounding, but it doesn't really do any damage. Hyper condenser increases the railgun's EP cost from 150 to 250, but makes it hit twice, which is awesome. There's main battery heavy railgun and missile rain, which is on all 3. And there's her Sentinel upgrade stats. Megami Yakashiji, the first of the flying units. She starts with armor-mounted pulse lasers, which is just her free ability. It does pierce armor, but it's generally not something I'll be using that much. High-energy pulse laser hits a big cone in front of her, lets her move to set it up, pierces armor, and hits a bunch of times. It's a very useful ability. Shield repair, it just heals an ally. Forced cooling device, weight recovery speed increases by 30%. Piercing multi-lock missiles. We'll get to basic multi-lock missiles with the others because they don't have piercing. But basically she moves a huge distance, or up to a huge distance, fires off a whole bunch of missiles in an area surrounding her, targeting random enemies. Every missile will hit something, but the targets are random, so you can't really control that. It's good for clearing crowds, and if you've got a specific set of enemies that are armored, she's great for that. Unfortunately, she gets this instead of Leg Spike, so she's somewhat less useful against single target, but piercing multi-lock missiles is still pretty good. And interceptors, which, like Sentry Gun, you'll see me using the Gen 4s to set up for several turns at the start of each match. They are little autonomous drones that fly around the battlefield independent of your control and target stuff and deal a little bit of damage with every hit. You can have up to 40 of them on the battlefield, and so the first 5 things I do with the Gen 4 Sentinels in every battle is set up 40 interceptors, because they fire off 8 per use. It's very useful in most situations. Some situations it's not that great, especially if there's like crowds of little enemies. Here's her Sentinel upgrade stats. Yuki Takamiya, the second of the Gen 4s. She has arm-mounted pulse lasers. She has basic multi-lock missiles. She has quad leg spikes, which is the upgraded version of the leg spike ability. It hits one target, piercing armor, really, really hard, 4 times. Single target only, best for use on boss enemies. Hits hard and kills most things it could hit. Arm-mounted convergent lasers are basically a mini railgun shot. Doesn't go very far, it's not very wide, but it hits decently hard and it pierces armor. She's got composite ceramic armor like one of the Gen 1s do, so she's immune to hits of 500 damage or less, and she's got interceptors maxed out. And there's her Sentinel upgrade track. Renya Goto only has 4 abilities set up. I don't remember what. Oh, right. He's got abilities. I forgot to go into the abilities of everybody. Not important. They don't usually come into play all that much. But optimally efficient makes him faster the fewer armaments he's got equipped, so I have him at 4 instead of 6. He's got arm-mounted pulse lasers, multi-lock missiles, leg spike, and interceptors. And that's it. He's fairly useful, but mostly he's an interceptors machine. And Shu Omeguchi rounding out the list with arm-mounted pulse lasers, multi-lock missiles, shield repair to heal people, leg spike for damage, arm-mounted convergent lasers, and interceptors. Nothing really new there. Shu and Yuki are generally the most useful of the aerial units, the Gen 4s, but all 4 of them, I always bring 2 Gen 4s into every fight. I have various numbers of the rest of them, but I always bring 2 Gen 4s into every fight. So that's the list of them. I think I'm actually going to end this video here and have it be an introductory video, and then have the boss fight be its own video. So I'm going to end this video here and then start another recording immediately.